Welcome to another episode of Conduct Detrimental. Dan Lush joined by Mike Kravchenko and first time, long time. Actually, not first time, long time, but a long time. Landis Barber joining us back on the podcast. Gentlemen, how is it going?
It's going great. I mean, I'm happy to be here. Happy to see Landis here. I think this is our first time together on the show, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, this is our first time recording, but it's good to be back here. It's been probably a couple of years now. I've been here.
It's been at least 2 years. And Landis, just so I listen, if people are just listening, you have this like tone of your voice sounds a lot like Matthew McConaughey right now. I don't remember that.
Is it the Matthew McConaughey from True Detective?
No, it's just Matthew McConaughey in real life. But I guess the Matthew McConaughey in real life is him in every show. It's the same guy.
That's thrilling. Got a voice for radio, I guess, is what they say.
You can have both. Remind everybody, I know you're still at Saffron, right?
That's right. Yeah, Saffron Law Offices in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nice. Okay, so pleasure to have you back on the show. Let's I guess we'll break down the roadmap and then we'll go kind of piece by piece. So the main reason, Landis, I thought to reach out to you, and you can certainly judge me if I'm saying anything incorrectly, but I'm like, NASCAR. Who do I would know that's following this NASCAR case? I'm getting a lot of requests to do it. I'm like, who do I know? I'm like, oh, Landis is from North Carolina. Landis definitely is a NASCAR guy. Maybe I made an incorrect assumption. Maybe I made a correct assumption. Is it safe to say that you're a NASCAR guy?
Well, I grew up here in North Carolina, so you basically got to be a NASCAR guy, right? Like that's all we're about. So NASCAR is my thing, and yeah, I've been following this case a lot.
You're not being facetious. I don't listen. In 2025, I don't want to say anything bad, but like, got to be careful.
No, 100%. I'm not being facetious. Big into it. Dale Earnhardt, grew up a Dale Earnhardt fan, so I'm all for it. NASCAR, and I'm one of the ones that it's been tailing off a little bit for me over the past few years, but this has definitely got me sort of re-energized for what's going on.
So I watched we'll do this later, but I did watch the Dale Earnhardt documentary, blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about it in a minute. Okay. So we have the NASCAR case. It's a case being fought right now. It's a case that's not really getting that much attention in the mainstream. It should. Michael Jordan's involved. The law firm of Winston Strawn's involved. It's an antitrust case. A lot of the same bones as the House versus NCAA case and the House versus Alston case before it. So you're going to help educate us. And maybe Mike and I will ask you some questions that maybe the people are looking for and what we should be paying attention for. In addition to that, we have just kind of two big college coaching stories as we're getting kind of on the next phase of this. Certainly, Lane Kiffin is the biggest story, or was the biggest story in sports last week, kind of at national level. And I think we had planned to do an episode on the SCORE Act if it passed. The vote never even happened, so we'll tie that into the Lane Kiffin stuff. Brian Kelly, some resolution. Where Mike and I in New York, there's a lot, and my group chats. And I have to imagine there's more group chats than just mine in New York. This Giannis injury seems to have some tones of the Jimmy Butler situation, of the James Harden situation. I guess we can say demands a trade, asked to trade in the offseason, and then it came up again, and then the next game he injured himself. So we'll talk about just the kind of history of unhappy players and superstar contracts and what can be done as a result of that. Reminder, our podcast sponsored by Themis Bar Review, the top bar prep company in the galaxy. I did make a promise. I did say if you left us a review, I would read it. And if you build it, they will come. I don't know who this is. There's a lovely review from someone named Struber56. 5-star review. Excellent sports podcast. Excellent podcast analyzing the legal side of sports. They do a great job breaking down current legal issues in a way that listeners of any background can understand. The context they provide makes Conduct Detrimental a must listen for any sports fans. So nice, Struber56. Don't know who that is. If you leave a review, because I said we had all these nice reviews, we lost them all when someone, aka other Mike, decided to switch us over to the wrong podcast hosting platform. We got to get him back. And I got the Spotify Wrapped. I see all the people that listen to it in their top 1, their top 5. They listen to it how many days upon download. We see you. So we would appreciate a review, but if you just want to listen, that's cool too. Okay, Landis, let us start over in your neck of the woods, but a case that is being fought. It might have ramifications across the country. That is this NASCAR antitrust case. So I'm going to give you the floor. I'll shut up. Mike is getting ready for the hard questions. I see him sharpening his pencil over there. So, Landis, the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, NASCAR. This is the biggest case to go down in probably NASCAR history, and it probably will be a case that is recognized throughout history as the biggest NASCAR case, but it's also a big antitrust case in general. And what this is sort of all about is charter agreements, which began in 2016. But really, the real fight happened beginning in 2022 when they had to renew the charter agreements. And the teams were sitting there arguing, and they were saying, we don't like these terms, right? NASCAR is like, well, there's not much we can do about it. And they're like, we don't like that we have to renew these. We don't like the revenue model. We don't like that you control all the rules.
By the way,
And they
is this
yeah.
Michael Jordan? Is this the Michael Jordan that's saying this in 22?
Yeah, this is the Michael Jordan, but it's all the teams at this point in 2022, right?
Okay.
They're saying we don't like this model, but then it gets into 2024, and the NASCAR decides that it's time to sort of rubber meets the road here. You need to agree to these, and there's two teams that say we don't agree. Out of 15 teams, there's two of them that say we don't like. One of it is Michael Jordan's team, 2311 Racing, that's co-owned by Michael Jordan, and it's got Denny Hamlin involved as well. And then there's Front Row Motorsports, which is owned by Bob Jenkins, and they say we don't want to do it, we don't agree, and so we're going to go to court over it. We're going to go to court because we don't agree with this agreement. We don't agree with having to renew every year. We don't agree with the revenue models. We don't agree with the restrictions. We don't make money. And by the way, NASCAR is not like the leagues like NBA and other things like that. It's privately owned by a family, the France family, which is a big thing here, and they're making money. NASCAR is valued at over $1 billion, and they're making $100 million a year, and that's all coming out in this trial. The judge in this case, Judge Bell, told him, you need to settle this case. And through leading up to it, they say, you need to settle, you need to settle. And after filing a lawsuit in 2024, he keeps saying, you need to settle, you need to settle. They keep trying to work it out, but nothing has worked to this point, and now they're in court.
So let me ask this, and it's certainly a helpful background, and it's like, we have a lot of these cases kicking around right now. So maybe, and you could tell me if I'm way off basis for this, but
Sure.
we obviously different. We talk a lot about the college sports of this, but one of these antitrust cases that we have not really spent that much time talking about is this UFC antitrust case, where the fighters were alleging they weren't paid enough money, and that UFC was acting like a monopolistic organization, and they weren't cutting their fighters in on the revenue to an appropriate amount, and there were no competitors. So I'm going to ask you a question that, again, you might think I'm a novice.
Sure.
Okay. Years ago, I became a Formula One guy. So I have a long-term future on Max Verstappen to win the Drivers' Championship. Watch him very closely over here. I'm certainly aware of Le Mans. I'm not sure how we phrase it. Indy stock racing. Like, there are other forms of auto racing. Now, what defines a competitor to NASCAR, right? Like, again, maybe the novice in me thinks that those other auto racing sports that also look for eyeballs in the American market, like I'm an American fan that watches Formula One. How are those not competitors? How do those sports impact the argument?
Yeah, it's sort of a different type of racing. And the interesting thing about this trial, it's good you brought that up. Judge Bell has already ruled that they are a monopoly on premier stock car racing. So it's a little bit different type of racing, and NASCAR has put restrictions on racetracks, and they've done all these sort of things and put restrictions on teams to be able to race. So that part kind of is already out of it, right? They are a monopoly. Now, have they used that monopoly power unlawfully to engage in anti-competitive tactics which has caused financial harm? So it's just a different type of premier stock car racing is the relevant market here. And that's what's sort of going on here. We don't have to figure out the monopoly part. Judge Bell already did that for us.
So it's, I guess, and I'm going to break it down like Michael Scott used to say, explain to me like I'm five. There are no other, because we've already ruled there's a monopoly, there is no other meaningful stock car racing in the relative markets. And if you want to be involved in stock car racing in particular, you have to abide by our rules. We're NASCAR. We make the rules. Again, not that we need to go into other sports, but UFC, there's really only one main show in town, and they've done their part to eliminate the competition. Is that the safest way or the easiest way to explain? Like, there is no other means of stock car racing, meaningful stock car racing in the United States. Is that?
I would completely agree. I think that's the easiest way to explain it for other people.
Now, okay, listen, we didn't prep you on this. Now, I can go through the litany of like other basketball leagues, right? In history, other football leagues, hockey, even UFC, like other mixed martial arts associations. Is there a history of NASCAR doing things to to basically get their monopolistic status. I mean, that seems to be. I mean, I don't know that from the history of NASCAR. I don't know if there's been a competitor that's arose, and what factors would prevent someone from doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, historically, you're talking about NASCAR has grown. They've absorbed other sort of NASCAR stock car racing leagues, and that's part of the claims here, and showing their monopoly power is that they have absorbed other stock car racing entities. And they've grown over time as the France family has continued to privately own it. And then it wasn't until 16 when they got enough pushback that these teams said, hey, we actually need a charter agreement, because the importance of these charter agreements is that guarantees you a race slot, right? 36 slot. Well, there's 40 slots, 36 charters, and then 4 open slots typically to race. And that's what gets you these revenue models and other things. So historically, NASCAR has grown because they've absorbed other stock car racing leagues.
So it's interesting. I mean, like I guess the part of the case of whether it's a monopoly or not is really what we looked at in terms of some of our other big sports disputes. So we have this filed essentially, I guess, in your backyard. And I don't know how far are you from this Western District of North Carolina? Is that in your back?
Yeah, I'm not far from the Western District, but I'm about probably 2 hours from Charlotte. I went to UNC Charlotte, so I'm very familiar with Charlotte. And then Raleigh is about 2 hours from Charlotte, so it's really not far.
Okay, and I guess this don't again. This might be a dumb question. Actually, Mike told me to ask it, so it's not even my question.
Absolutely.
What is Denny Hamlin's role? Denny Hamlin is a name that I know from stock car racing, but what is I understand Michael Jordan's role? Michael Jordan buys a team or has an ownership of a team, and he expects to make more money. What is Hamlin's role in this? Is Hamlin because I think he was taking the stand. I think he took the stand this week. I just trying to figure out what his role in this is.
He took the stand this week. You mean 3-time Daytona 500 winner Denny Hamlin? You don't know who he is?
Oh,
come on.
I thought it was only 2-time. No.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, he's a part owner with 2311 Racing. I think a 40% owner is what it is. So that's why he's here.
Okay. I mean, so we're like, let's say we have a very disruptive case here, right? And Winston Strawn is on the case, so we're very familiar with Kessler and his work. And I think it goes without saying that Kessler has a very strong track record in these cases. So,
yes.
So let's say, and again, we're not certainly I'm not opining on who's going to win or lose, because I just told you I didn't really know who Denny Hamlin was. But as our resident North Carolinian, is that it? North Carolina?
Carolinian. We throw an extra vowel in there. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course. What is the effect, right? What happens if Jordan and Hamlin, obviously through the lawyering of Kessler, what happens if they win? What happens to this model?
Yeah, no, that was a really good question. And it's a really good point that you made. I don't know who Denny Hamlin is, but you do know who Michael Jordan is, right? And that's, I think, an important point when it comes to this case, because also every North Carolinian knows who Michael Jordan is. The one that grew up in Wilmington, the one that went to Chapel Hill, the one that is still a part owner of the Hornets, was a majority owner of the Hornets. So every North Carolinian knows who Michael Jordan is. But if he wins and if they win, which, Dan, I'm going to tell you a little bit, antitrust cases are complicated. They take a lot of economics. And
so I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And they're going to have to present all of this information to a jury, and a jury, it's very difficult to do it plain and simple. And so a jury, I could easily see saying, you know what, I don't know who Denny Hamlin is, but I know who Michael Jordan is. And Michael Jordan is big time. But I don't know. Maybe not. But let's say they win, okay? And the thing that makes this case different, right, and makes it a big case is that, like we discussed, the France family has an ownership in this. And what the judge may do, the judge is going to decide the remedies, is he may break up the ownership of NASCAR. He may also get rid of the charter system in general, despite all the owners of the other teams saying, well, we agree with the charter system. We just don't agree with the sponsorship or the revenue models, the rules that NASCAR controls all our rules, and we just have to abide by them. And we don't agree that it costs us $20 million to run a car and we can only get $12 million out of revenue. We're losing money every year. So what makes this a really important case is that these remedies are going to be sort of massive remedies, potentially causing a breakup of NASCAR or causing, the charter system to go away in general. And that's going to be Judge Bell's decision if they do win.
Okay, now I'm going to ask one more dumb question. And you said I know who Michael Jordan is. I actually know who both Michael Jordans are. Michael Jordan and Mike. Who's our other Michael Jordan that we know?
Well, I know Michael B. Jordan.
Michael
Do we
B.
have
Jordan.
Mike,
do you not know who Michael B. Jordan is? That's the most embarrassing thing that's happened on this podcast.
It went right through. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I thought there was another person that worked on the pod that was named Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
that's
the MJ of the podcast industry.
Michael C. Jordan, followed by Michael D. and E. So just and again, you as our veteran NASCAR legal reporter. We've kind of talked through this charter, and maybe some people who understand this kind of like the franchise concept. Some people might understand, and I did some weird New York City taxi work for a couple of years. It's like medallions for taxis.
Medallion system,
right?
Yeah.
So we have something like a charter where I guess they could be revoked at any point in time. That the NASCAR, I guess I'm going to call it the board. Fake. I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, but they can just basically pull your charter away from you at for some God knows what reason. Is I want to get into that piece. That seems to be like you don't have guaranteed revenue, don't have guaranteed ownership, and we've done so many episodes on this podcast about how Major League Baseball or the NFL or any of these major leagues do so much to protect their owners, to increase franchise ownership interest, and these leagues grow and these teams grow, and value is increasing exponentially year over year. So that seems to be the difference with these charters. A, you're not growing exponentially because it's not a system of revenue sharing, number one. But number two, you could lose your, I'm going to say team, but lose your charter. Have I grasped this concept of a charter? Is that the key argument that Jordan's making?
Yeah, that's one of the arguments that Jordan's making. Although they're not as concerned about necessarily losing the charter once you signed it, but that is a key argument in that you can be forced to sell your charter, and once the charter's sold, then it's very hard to get it back. I mean, that's the charter system, and that's why they want this permanent charter, right? They don't want to have to renew it and go through these rules and regulations every year. So it's a key point, and it's why they want a permanent system in place. They want less restrictions on them, and they want to be able to make money. I mean, it costs money to run a car. One car, I think Denny Hamlin actually testified that one car is $20 million. And what they earn from a charter is $12 million. So you can do the math there, and you're losing about $6 million per car. So while it is about sort of NASCAR's ability to take away this, like the medallion system in New York, it's also about the revenue miles, and that's really where it lies. And that's what's ultimately going to happen here with the damages and stuff.
Very interesting. The medallion system is probably an apropos, not an all fours comparison, but those medallions cost a fortune, and no one is using New York City cabs anymore. Yeah. So interesting. It's almost like
the medallion system did come up in the trial this week. So,
well, listen,
look at you.
Sure,
you know what you're talking about.
Me and Kessler, we're basically one and the same, cut from the same cloth. Cool. So, listen, Landis, great job breaking that down. You're going to hang with us for the rest of this, correct? Good.
Yeah, I'll hang for a while. Yeah, whatever you need.
Okay. So, let's. I want to switch gears. We're going to stay, obviously. Mike and I from New York, from the tundra of New York. We follow sports, but we're not immersed. Okay, in NASCAR, number one, we're not immersed in SEC country. We're like just the best coaching disputes happen, just like the best. So, let's hit Brian Kelly quickly because I want to get to the main course that is Lane Kiffin, and obviously the two have a very clear through line. So Lane, let's do Brian Kelly first. Brian Kelly gets fired from LSU, and I'm going to say this before we get into the coaches. Sometimes I say things on the podcast, and I don't know if I'm right or I'm wrong, but in my ripe old age of 37, sometimes I just don't have a filter anymore. And I said months ago, why did Penn State fire James Franklin? Like, they were like a top 5 team in the country. Like, they lost 3 games in a row, but like, who are you going to get better than James Franklin? That's literally built the program from scratch. Like, and if you just hit the reset button with the new coach, like you could go 500. Like, James Franklin is not going to do that. He had one bad year, and maybe he can't win the big one, but like, I don't know who better could you get, Mike? I don't know when we recorded that episode on James Franklin. Penn State is still looking for a coach. I heard something they're on like they're on like their 20th option at this point, and they keep going down the line. So I don't know who they're going to get, and it's going to be an overpay. And James Franklin was sitting right there for the taking, and they decided to let him go. So here's where we have this interesting coaching carousel, and it's going to lead to our Lane Kiffin conversation. But Brian Kelly gets fired, I think probably because James Franklin got fired. You lose 3 straight games, winnable games. You kind of go from both schools, Penn State and LSU, were national championship contenders when the year started. Both are returning quarterbacks. Both really should have been in the conversation. Neither was. So when Franklin gets fired and Brian Kelly has his third really crushing loss, writing's on the wall. Kelly leaves LSU. We talked about it in the last podcast about this declaratory judgment action. Spoiler alert, I'm hopefully people are following the news, but Brian Kelly's going to get paid basically every dollar on that buyout, 50 plus million. But that game of musical chairs, LSU opens up. LSU is a premium job. At the same time, Florida opens up. So what we had last week was a kind of will they, won't they, right? Where is Lane Kiffin going to go? And we talked about on the podcast last week, how is Lane Kiffin basically having these conversations at a point in time where like his team is still playing, let alone like his team is playing games. Like, couldn't this conversation happen in the offseason? I get a coach being fired mid-year, but a coach switching from team A to team B while team A is still playing games and team B season over just is an oddity that we don't normally have in sports. So that brings us to this conversation. Lane Kiffin ends up picking LSU over Florida. Lane Kiffin's kind of this big domino. He's being paid ungodly amounts of money. Now, Landis and Mike, I will open this up to both of you. And Mike, I know you were awfully quiet on the NASCAR piece, so I know you have some thoughts on Lane Kiffin here. We have Lane Kiffin going to Ole Miss. Okay, we have a college football playoff that we have to make decisions on. Lane Kiffin, we can talk about the substance of the legal dispute, but Lane Kiffin basically left his team, right? It's not that different from the college football playoff system a couple of years ago where Jordan Travis for Florida State got hurt and the committee did everything in their power to basically leave Florida State out. Jordan Travis is a Jet, right? Is he still on the Jets or they got rid of him, Mike?
No, he's on the practice squad, I believe, but he's still not ready.
But once upon a time, the college football playoff committee set a precedent that if you, no matter what your performance was, if moving forward your performance seems to be hindered by the unavailability of something, be it your quarterback who got hurt in that, I think the game right before, or your coach, that can impact performance. So I'll open it up to both of you. What do we think is going to be the precedent set? I don't think Ole Miss is missing the college football playoff, but I have a feeling their seeding is going to reflect things that haven't impacted the season thus far.
That's a tough one because, there's been a lot of drama behind the college football playoff as a whole and kind of even the new seeding and the new playoff format. So I'm curious to see, where they end up. And I mean, who's going to be taking the reign? I mean, they were mentioning afterwards, who was actually going to be coming back and who was going to be coaching. As far as I know, they're going to have defensive coordinator Pete Golding named as the permanent head coach to lead the team at least through the playoffs.
Is the OC coming back too?
Yeah, so that's another part that I was just going to ask and bring up as well, because I know that the OC is possibly following him to LSU, but then coming back to coach at least for the playoffs. So Lane Kiffin is not, but the OC is coming back, which just confuses me even more if he had full-on contact. And I don't know if the agreement has gone through with LSU, but that's definitely a confusing and an interesting aspect as well. Really, none of this to me makes any sense. I mean, within the SEC, your team is going to the playoffs, and he even came out, Kiffin, and said that he wanted to come back and coach and stay for the college football playoff. But multiple players have disputed that already, either on their social media or via interviews. So it's been very lengthy, intense. It seems like within both teams, but to me, I don't really know where the precedent that's set has been a precedent that I saw that, ones like Nick Saban had mentioned, like it's kind of just a precedent in general, whether you're a player or a coach, that you can just kind of up and leave and kind of you have the freedom to do what's best for you and in your best interest at that exact moment, no matter what time of year it is or what the situation is or what the context is. So, we've been mentioning Wild West, Wild West. I mean, that phrase constantly for how many years now on the podcast and
Even
just
worse.
across NIL.
It's even worse now. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the I guess we're not just bringing up college football. There's a lot of legal concepts in here, right? So there's some just weird contract terms, right? Lane miss, I don't quite understand why this happened. This is bad lawyering, but Lane Kiffin is no longer with Ole Miss, right? His contract's been terminated, right? I have seen reporting that if Ole Miss goes on to win the national championship, Lane Kiffin gets a bonus of $1 million. That just seems to be poor drafting in terms of a survival clause. Like, why would an incentive survive if you're no longer with the team? That seems to be something that you forfeit if you quit mid-year. I'm not sure why that would still be the case. That seems to be rather odd. And Mike, to your point, I had a conversation with one of my contacts in Ole Miss, and I was like, wouldn't Ole Miss want like the best possible chance to win a national championship? Like, wouldn't they just want to have the best chance? So Lane was essentially, again, I'm not sure if this is to be believed, but his version of events was that he essentially said, I'm going to go to LSU, but I want to coach throughout the rest of the year at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss didn't want their program to be a billboard for LSU, right? Like, he wins the national championship and he goes to LSU. But I'm with you, Mike, and maybe I'll ask Landis to see if you can put your commissioner hat on. The oddity is very weird that in the middle of a season, when Ole Miss still has games to play, that we're just kind of looking at Lane Kiffin's like freedom of choice, his free will, whatever he wants to do in a moment's notice. There is no mechanism that the NCAA has to punish a coach for activity like this. Like our fun term that we use, like conduct detrimental to the league, where the NFL issues punishments. Like Lane Kiffin made college football look horrendous for a long period of time. So there's no mechanism to punish coaches. And I'm sure there's someone listening to this podcast like, why are we punishing coaches? Coaches should get freedom to do anything they want. It's because at every other level, like when we have professional sports, I'm putting it in quotes, a coach can't hold his team hostage without fear of retribution. So, we keep saying that college sports are basically like the pros right now, except that there's no enforcement mechanism and anyone can do anything at any time. The SCORE Act, which was designed to help prevent some of this, doesn't exist right now. They're not even voting on it. They kicked that. The participation agreement to have NIL go and have College Sports Commission have some teeth, that's not being signed by Texas. So like all these mechanisms, these dominoes to try to like create enforcement and to hold anyone accountable keep disappearing. So like Landis, are we in the Wild Wild West era forever? Or like where is the line? I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting question. You were talking about the contract with LSU having the Ole Miss bonus in it. There are some questions. I guess there could be some questionable legal concepts, but I think that's just a good agent right there, talking about how really utilizing that leverage he has with Ole Miss to say, well, if we can't get this bonus and a couple other million, I mean, I don't really know why we would leave Ole Miss at the same time. If we win a national championship there, they're going to build a statue of me. What are they going to do if I come here? So I think that was some good agent stuff right there. And it really has been just a wild, wild west of things. But I think trying to punish a coach, Lane Kiffin did what he had to do, right? He made a business decision for himself, and he's going to LSU, and hopefully will do well at LSU. I know all Ole Miss fans don't want that to happen, but hopefully he'll do well at LSU, which will be better for everyone. And he really made that decision, it seems like all these coaches have made because of the recruiting calendar, right? Signing day was this week, December 3rd, and that really dictated going ahead and getting into the next job. And so I think the NCAA would really have a hard time punishing that, because the instant pushback is, well, what do you want me to do? I got to go to my next job and sign a class. And at the same time, I know Lane Kiffin was really upset about Ole Miss not letting him coach the playoffs. Ole Miss is like, hey, we got to move on too. We got to get our coach in place because they've got to go recruit. And we're never going to have a coach fully in place unless that happens. So it's a difficult situation and a difficult line to totter for the NCAA.
Yeah, like we had an episode last week with Amanda Kristovich and Sam Ehrlich, and I asked them the same question, and I said, "What can we do to solve all this?" And Sam gave this lovely, artful response about the SCORE Act and what it represented. And I'm like, well, what about things that are like realistically going to pass? And they both laughed. And listen, every once in a while I get things right. I don't get my Travis Hunter over under yardage bet for the year right, but like I get the important stuff right.
No.
Okay.
I think if you start to move that recruiting calendar, I mean, you start to go in the spring, then you're going to start to see some of that, not necessarily happen.
I'll tell you the other thing that's just disappointing. So I had I won't say the name, but let's just call it a hypothetical situation. Like and we didn't talk about it in the podcast, but Dylan Raiola of Nebraska, there's the story that popped up that they kind of like, I don't know what the term is. They fired him. They kicked him off the team. Like whatever the terminology is for allegedly having conversations with other schools, while he was going in the middle of like quarterback meetings or whatever else he was. So it's evidentiary of the reality of the situation. Like we have a transfer portal, and the transfer portal is supposed to represent the time period where in this permissible window in the portal, you can have conversations with other schools. But like, we're kidding ourselves if we don't think those conversations are happening ahead of time. So we have this world where if you want to stick to the rules and you only want to have those conversations while you're in the portal, it's like the NBA like restricted window. It's like no one's allowed to talk to any players, but the weirdest thing happens the second like your free agency is announced, like all these deals are agreed to within 30 seconds. It's like, wait, how did those conversations happen? So yeah, I mean, like maybe it's a fallacy. Maybe we shouldn't be using our pro sports to compare to college. Maybe college is a brand new thing that's completely different, right? Like maybe there will be like loan agreements, like, and I'm laughing about loan agreements, like, like in soccer, because they're essentially LSU was loaning back a coach for Ole Miss purposes to coach the offensive staff. But like we've maybe made the fallacy of thinking that like this is a beacon and this can be easily corralled like our college, like our pro sports, but without, absent. I mean, the real answer is some collective bargaining agreement, some form of union, some type of buy-in from the players, the coaches. But we're again 4 years into the era, and I don't view us as being particularly close to a collective bargaining unit. And even if we did, then we're dicing up sports. Like, are we gonna have a football union? We can have a Big Ten union. It's very cagey.
It's so hard to compare the pro sports. I mean, you're talking about so many more entities, and you're talking about public entities, and you're talking about private entities. It really gets difficult. I know the easiest way is to compare it to pro sports, but it really starts to get difficult when we're talking about nuts and bolts of doing these things, especially the NCAA's enforcement power over public universities and public entities and stuff.
With you. Mike, anything else to add to this, or do you want to go to your boy Giannis?
No, I mean, let's go to Giannis. This might impact us over here in New York. So,
Mike, give us the timeline for people that maybe aren't paying attention to the ins and outs of this. I do think this will be the biggest story in the NBA. But Mike, give us the time frame of what's going on with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, so I mean, even coming into the season, we talked about this earlier on, that coming into the season, it was a possibility. It was a conversation that Giannis was going to come to New York, or at least wanted out of Milwaukee, and that New York was allegedly the only team that he keeps mentioning that's carried into the season. I mean, the Knicks look pretty good. The Bucks don't. And really, the conversation has continued, allegedly, both with him and his agent. Nonstop reports have been coming out up to this point. And now it's gotten really hot about whether he wants to request a trade or, that he just wants to get out of Milwaukee fully. And then the biggest, I think, story as to what happened was literally yesterday, that he had a right calf strain during the first quarter of the Bucks game against the Detroit Pistons. So it was a non-contact fall and limping to the locker room. It was an interesting clip that a lot of people have mixed emotions and feelings about. They ruled out an Achilles tear.
What are the mixed feelings, Mike?
Yeah, so it's just the timing. So there was a huge report that came out earlier this week, I believe, and then immediately afterward of him wanting out of Milwaukee,
like
and then
the second time, like I want to really,
like this was like almost becoming, quote unquote official, and then almost immediately after, there's a non-contact fall, and he started limping to the locker room. And it was, I will say, it's an interesting clip. I am not on the side of, personally, I mean, I'll just give my personal opinion is I don't feel that it was a, hey, I'm out of here type of fall. But it's everything is possible, especially in the NBA. So, the Bucks obviously ruled him out, and then actually came out and projected him out for a 2 to 4 week recovery. It wasn't an Achilles tear, thankfully, but it was a calf strain. So It's really interesting. I mean, you mentioned it earlier in the show, or in the beginning, that there's possibilities here, somewhat reflective of the Jimmy Butler, James Harden. These are superstar max contract, super max players that want to leave their places and move on and try to chase a ring elsewhere. And Giannis is one of those. 2020, he got his last Supermax extension. That's through 2027 and 28. So it's coming up relatively soon. But, due to the fact that he's been with Milwaukee for 8 years, the NBA has that those veterans have that no trade clause, and it basically blocks trades without consent. So he would have to give consent to wherever he's going. And so far, there's been no dispute or holdout or grievance from him. But a lot of these rumors and, it just goes through the media cycle, and it's very curious now. And Dan, I saw you got excited. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on both the injury and then the implications here. I mean, especially if he's, going to be coming here.
Mike, you're way too political. You keep saying like, this is interesting. It's interesting. It's suspicious, Mike. It's suspicious. It's suspect. It's very convenient timing. So, listen, I'm not, maybe I am a tinfoil hat guy. I keep saying I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, and I always preface that, but maybe I've become one. So we let's say that Giannis really didn't want to play for the Bucks. Okay, and we learned this in the offseason. And he just said, you know what? I'm not going to play. I don't want to risk getting injured, and I just want you to trade me. That's a holdout situation. That's a situation where they could find him. That's what we walked into potentially with James Harden a couple years ago. We've had different issues with this popping up with players not wanting to report. There's is it the Jimmy Butler was the famous like sweatpants one? Is that what it was? Jimmy Butler in Minnesota? Landis,
I think so. Yeah.
So we've had holdout situations. And I have friends, and again, I have a group chat of like diehard Knicks fans, and we were talking, tossing around these theories of fake injury, and we'll unpack it a little more than that. It's kind of lazy to say fake injury, but the sentiment different from a Jimmy Butler, who's kind of like a malcontent. He has issues with every franchise he goes to. James Harden, right? Like he's had issues with a number of franchises. Like Giannis has none of that. So some people are saying it's not fair to question his character. He's never done this before. I said, okay, fine. I go, hopefully we can agree on this point. Giannis basically had a news that came out that seemed to be something that his team wanted out. And this was during the offseason that the Knicks attempted to make a trade for Giannis, that they had those conversations. Okay. So we had those, that it was a weird timing. It was after all the hot stove was done. Okay. So then this past week, Mike, as you point out, it's very weird to then have like a second round of the same exact story, almost as if Giannis was kind of saying like, hey, like I really want out now. Like I was kind of soft testing it. Now I really want out. So I'm not denying that Giannis got hurt last night. I'm not that crazy. What I do think is that the planets are aligning in such a way that if the normal time frame for a calf strain is 2 to 4 weeks, and Giannis, mind you, like I remember a clip like 3-4 years ago, I think when they won the title in 20, maybe it was 2020. Giannis, like we all thought he broke his back mid-game, and then he came back. Like Giannis is a warrior, and on top of everything else, he comes back from injuries quickly. He's got a tremendous track record playing the NBA. Mike, if the normal injury time for a strained calf is 2 to 4 weeks, and it could be an Achilles, it could be these other things, I'm slamming the over, like over, like 3.5, maybe 4. Maybe I'll take the alt line that he's not going to be back for 4.5 weeks. And I'm happy to make a bold prediction that this calf injury just seems to linger, just lingering and lingering and lingering. And that seems to be a way, like it's calf injury. It could be true, but it's a holdout while getting paid full salary and having the cover of like, hey, this guy's actually hurt. And the interesting part, because I had a friend say, this is the Knicks curse. We're about to get Giannis and he gets hurt. And I have the opposite opinion. Like this seems to depress his value. This will make the Bucks lose more games. And if they lose more games, they're not in contention. And all of a sudden they're a seller. And now there's a reason to try to get what you want. But there's no reason for Giannis to rush back. And the Bucks are being quick to say, like, we're not going to rush him back because he's hurt. It's an Achilles. But it's kind of a soft way to basically get into tank mode, get yourself a better draft pick, ideally, and then find a way to get Giannis out. Now, maybe someone's listening to saying this is blasphemous. Why would they do that? Because Giannis is Giannis, right? Like all these superstars get dealt. Melo got dealt. Jimmy Butler got dealt last year when he was a malcontent. with Miami. Dame Lillard got dealt when he was a malcontent in Portland. Like, if you are a superstar and you want out, like, we have no track record of like someone being locked into their franchise. So I do think that we're going to have I don't know if this is a legal term, but a milking of the injury, an exaggeratedly long length of the injury. But I've spoken a lot. Landis, it seems like I don't know if you're going to disagree with me, but I'm ready for it.
No, I agree that. I was just wondering, like, do you think that will come? I mean, I think what you were saying was that will come from more of Giannis's camp, but then towards the end, you kind of shifted and said maybe the Bucks are in tank mode, and I was like,
the Bucks are saying we're not going to rush him back. So it's I think a preemptive battle here. Like, Giannis is definitely going to milk this, and the question is whether the Bucks want to be taken to the woodshed, like what happened with Miami. Miami got seemingly worked by Jimmy Butler. So I'm just sensing all of the incentives are here for Giannis to milk this for as long as he wants. It only helps him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, maybe the Bucks. I just looked up and they're like 10th in their conference right now, so they're teetering on the edge of having to be in the playoff games. And I mean, Giannis is going to get a haul if they decide to trade him. So you don't even need to tank because you're going to get a haul at that point. You're going to get great picks. So it's going to be that's something to follow. I didn't realize that the Bucks were kind of teetering him out there. I thought this was going to be more of a Giannis situation where he's kind of like, I'm ready to go back and win a championship.
You don't know about Giannis, and we don't know about NASCAR. This is why this works. It just makes sense. Okay, so listen, it's getting kind of late in the day. I don't have that much more. I want to wish we didn't do a Thanksgiving episode. Listen, we're thankful for all of you at Conduct here. We're gonna definitely do our year-end recap. We'll see how many more episodes we're gonna bank in by the end of the year. I got to do my at some point tonight. We'll see if I can get any hours of sleep in, but I got to do my law school exam for New York sports law. I'm going to be teaching again at Pace Sports Law next semester. We got some good stuff. Got some good things to work on. Mike Landis, is there anything else that we should cover for our sports fans that we have not yet discussed?
I think John Cena's last match, December 13th.
Sure.
I just want you to know that I looked before this and I saw that Penn State has maybe narrowed down to two options: their interim coach and a fellow you might know of. I don't know. Maybe his name is Brian Daboll. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know much about the New York Giants. Daboll? Is it Daboll?
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys.
That's a fantastic hire. I mean, if they can pull it off, but Penn State has failed many times in this coaching search. So I don't know where all this money's coming from. Like, if everyone I think Kentucky paid their coach a buyout of $30+ million. Like, who like, can there is it possible that not every team has national championship expectations in the same year? Like, can't teams just be bad and just have a lovable losers vibe and like throw the culture? Like, we can't do that anymore?
Kurt Cignetti has changed the whole game. I mean, with what he's done at Indiana. But I heard about that, talking about it, Kentucky, I heard that actually that like $34 million, wasn't it, was due within like 60 days. And Mark Stoops threw him a solid, this is just what I was reading, and decided to spread out the payments over time.
So nice of him. Maybe is it Bobby Bonilla situation? He's getting a little bit of deferred comp.
Maybe so.
Okay, so let's put a pin in here. Landis, pleasure having you back on. Wishing everybody luck on exams. If you're not in school, wishing everybody luck on billable hours as we race to the end of the year. My year ended on November 30th, so I'm done. I'm already in the next year. So nice. It's what it is. Okay, pleasure having one here. And yeah, that'll do it for us here at Conduct Detrimental, and we will see you next time on another episode of the Sports Law Podcast, Conduct Detrimental.